Today we have picked interest in the Kampala pothole exhibition on the 17th of April. Ugandans on Twitter, or UOT as they famously call themselves, took to Twitter and started exhibiting the various roads in Uganda and their state in what is dubbed as the Kampala pothole exhibition. The exhibition showcased people taking pictures of the bad roads, specifically the potholes in Kampala roads. It garnered in just a few hours over 14,000 tweets and hundreds of thousands of impressions, let alone millions. And many people, by midday of 17th, many people, including famous people, had started tweeting about the Kampala pothole exhibition. In what seemed a satirical move, it gathered attention, it gathered momentum, and also in a surprising move, because the attention came to the attention of the president of Uganda, who on the 19th directed KCCA to use 6 billion shillings to fix the roads in Kampala. Some of the roads in Kampala, of course, 6 billion is still little. But there are many things that that exhibition showed to us. One, that it's possible for people to use media platforms to champion for what they believe in, to champion for causes, for community causes, for societal causes, and peacefully. It also showed us the reach that social media has. But importantly, it showed us the state of Kampala roads that is often neglected, or that is often not given attention. This campaign was headed by Dr. Jimmy Spire Sentongo, an academic and a cartoonist, who earlier on the 15th had stated that had garnered and rallied people to join the photo exhibition. Many thought that it would be maybe in a gallery, given that he's an artist. But well, it was on Twitter and it garnered quite an attention. To help us on this conversation, to further understand it, to further add views, I'm joined by Hasahya and Tony, whom I'll ask to introduce themselves, and then we shall proceed with the conversation.
Greetings to everyone, wherever you are. I'm Hasahya Sovereign. I'm a youth leader. I represent the female youth of Butaleja on the District Youth Council. I'm also a member of the National Youth Council, and I'm also Executive Assistant in the Directorate of Information and Publicity at the NRM Secretariat. Thank you so much for having us here.
I'm Tony Bakwerani from the Uganda Journalists Union and a journalist in Baba TV. Yeah,
I want to begin with you, Hasahya, to give us your opinion of the Kampala pothole exhibition. What is your take? Dear Sovereign, please tell us what your take is on the Kampala pothole exhibition.
Well, thank you so much. Concerning the situation of potholes in Kampala, it is really not a good situation for our country. But I think most of the issues, or the reason why this has happened, it's because we have most of our roads in Kampala, because when KCCA was issuing up their statement, it's like most of these roads in Kampala have really taken long, over 20 years when they're in existence. And there's not been, most of these roads, there have not been any reconstruction of these roads. So the situation is so bad that we have a lot of potholes. And this is because I think it is so much in Kampala, because we have a lot of vehicles in Kampala, we have a lot of traffic in Kampala, unlike other districts or other places whereby the vehicles are few on the roads. So, and this one has really been not well for people living around Kampala, because their vehicles, when maybe you're supposed to travel to work like for maybe for 30 minutes, but because of potholes, you're going to stay there for a full hour or sometimes 1 hour and a half. And even some of the challenges which are coming with this situation is the cars. Sometimes the cars, they are wearing up quickly because every time they're falling into potholes. Then also the challenge we have is accidents, because a vehicle can come, or a boda, especially when they're on high speed, and when they fall on such potholes, they get accidents. So this situation it's not good for the city, because we all know that KCCA is up to having a smart city. We have seen the director of KCCA, Madam Chisaka, preaching about the smart city. So this situation of potholes exhibition, it's not a good situation for Kampala, because we want Kampala to, it is the heart of Uganda. All people move up country, they move, most people move in different areas to come and do their businesses in Kampala. So the situation of potholes is really not good for the city. So to me, I believe the concerned people, because this one does not only include KCCA. Yes, KCCA have to also be responsible for what is taking place, because sometimes you find out that there are some roads which they are doing the reconstruction. For example, that side of Gaba Road, but sometimes around Zambia there, but sometimes you find out that even though they are doing these repairs, there's a lot of corruption, whereby I think the materials they're supposed to use, they are not used effectively. So the quality of the roads we are having, it is because of the corruption we have in our country. So people who are supposed to take good care of the roads we have, or to have good quality roads, to reconstruct roads which are good for us, you make sure that some of them make sure that they use the little money, then they use poor, or they use the quality of the products which are supposed to build the road are not good. So that is one of the challenges we have. So the concerned people like KCCA, we have a Ministry of Works, that one is also concerned in that issue. We have the whole minister for Kampala. Actually, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament summoned her to go and present a statement in Parliament. So it needs collective efforts to address this situation which is in Kampala. It's not good, and it's not good for our city.
Okay, thank you. If I understand you correctly, did you say you disagree with the hashtag?
No, I've not said I disagree with the hashtag. I said the hashtag is okay, because, you know, there is a lot of ways of communication. And social media is part of it. Social media is a tool which can be used to reach out to different people. And sometimes you might not meet someone in the office, but you can meet them on Twitter, or you can meet them on social media platforms. So it is always good to raise an alarm when something is happening in our country. So to me, I believe it is okay.
Thank you very much. We shall go to our next panelist. Please unmute, and if you can, switch on your video and introduce yourself. You've already introduced yourself, Tony. Please, what do you make of the Kampala pothole exhibition?
Okay, thank you very much once again. The topic that was handled properly via Twitter, purposely on Twitter, because it was mostly on Twitter, as about the potholes in Kampala. It's true, Kampala has very poor roads, and even actually it results even to some workers, like for us who are just employed there. It can take you over 2 hours or 3 hours to reach the workplace. When you combine the potholes and traffic jam on the way, it becomes a very big challenge to everyone who is staying in Kampala. If we talk about Kampala, we are not meaning Kampala just here, but we talk about Greater Kampala Metropolitan, which covers Kampala itself, Nakawa, Mukono, and that scenario is taking place. If you talk about, there is a place in Banda. That place is very poor. It has potholes on the way. So me, I agree with the hashtag, which was mostly handled via Twitter. And I believe if we raise this place, people are actually the people in charge, because I won't say KCC alone, but KCC is also, can also be hoped by other people to show them, because mostly we the journalists, we are the eyes of the nation. If we don't show what's going on, people are unable to see or to understand what's out there. So my point is, I agree with the hashtag.
Thank you very much for it's interesting that this hashtag, ordinarily when campaigns and protests happen in Uganda, the government responds harshly, denies the problem. If it's overwhelming, then the people will be imprisoned, and it will be mixed with politics. It will be politicized, and accusations will be made here and there. But this one, the accusations themselves did not yield, because many people, mainly those ones who are comfortable with the status quo, began saying, "Oh, you're doing a bad job by shaming Uganda. You should have done better." But by also showing those roads that are good. And among those people that came to defend Kampala City is a gentleman called Hudu Hussein, who castigated Dr. Spire for that hashtag, and there are also very many other government surrogates that were denying this problem, that indeed denied that this problem happens, and they, but their criticism or their backlash, their response did not yield, because the citizens were much more enthusiastic about this cause, the cause of roads that affect all people. I want to read a tweet from Hudu, who was dismissing what Spire was saying. So he responded to Dr. Spire and says, thanks, okay, what matters isn't the coverage, it is the actual work being done. And okay, he was campaigning for another person, but I wanted to show how he negatively responded. But he responded to the Bobi Wine, who is also among the very high-profile politicians in Uganda and the leader of the National Unity Platform, called, not jumping, but also his idea to campaign at the status of roads. Bobi Wine said, this would be funny if it were not an ugly representation of the state of our roads, especially in what is one wonders what those who have spent 37 years ruling over our country feel about their record. And I'll come to you, Hasahya, as a member of the National Resistance Movement, to tell us why, after a very long time in power, we have such bad roads. So Hudu Hussein then responds, there's nothing bad about roads. KCCA Uganda should and could have done better. The same way there's everything wrong with someone who has prospered and become a millionaire in dollars and never appreciate the fact that he did so under someone else's leadership. Hudu Hussein says that there is nothing wrong about bad roads, and he is an RDC and a member of the National Resistance Movement. And he went on to say, all nations have problems that deserve shaming, but they don't do that. The West is what is particularly due to branding. Now, you just added Uganda, another identity. Pothole City isn't run as it should be. And he was saying that we should not blame, KCCA should not, we shouldn't blame the government for the bad potholes. The same gentleman went on and said the pothole exhibition may not be, he says that there is a better way to exhibit or to show discontent than embarrassing the country on social media. Those were the views of Hudu, saying that I wanted to bring out. And lastly, he says, the pothole exhibition is a mockery and an absurdity. Jimmy Spire may have good intentions, but at this rate, it's now a national comedy captured by the failed opposition. We all want a better Kampala, but not at the cost of shaming our country globally. But look here, how can the people in a country that does not have the freedom to protest, freedom of assembly, how can you then also go online and gag their freedoms and prevent them from discussing things that pertain to them, such as the poor state of roads? Now, I want to, before I come back to you, our panelists, KCCA gave a response after that protest, or during actually the protest, and immediately on Tuesday that was 18 April 2023, KCCA made a state release or issued a press statement. And I will quote a number of, some of those that, some of the key things that they highlighted. So KCCA says they cannot trivialize the issue of potholes on the Kampala roads. KCCA is aware that potholes drive the road user costs through frequent vehicle repairs, long time travels, and high accident rates, among others. Now, KCCA also noted that the Kampala city has a total road network of 2,100 kilometers, but only 30% are paved roads and 70% are unpaved. All are earth roads. Now, that is simply incredible. That is over 1,700 kilometers are earth and paved. That's how dire the situation is. And when rain comes and heavy rains, Kampala has heavy rains, that unpaved or earth roads are dug further. The erosion that happens makes even the roads more dire. It digs further, which makes it more problematic. So Kampala, KCCA noted also, it's worth noting that most of our paved roads have served far beyond their full lifespan of 20 years, and are due for overhaul or reconstruction, which explains the high prevalence of potholes and other road damages. They cried foul and said that government does not provide them with enough funds to repair these roads, to fix the potholes. They also noted that some work is undergoing, but they continued to say that the major obstacle is lack of funds. That KCCA needs between 75 to 100 billions annually to effectively maintain roads, but they only get 26 billion shillings. So I'll pause there, and I will specifically come to you, Sovereign, who and you are part of the ruling party that NRM is, and here we have KCCA blaming the government, which is headed by the ruling party, for not prioritizing road maintenance, road construction, and better roads in Kampala. Please tell us why, but also you could also answer the question I asked earlier. Why has it taken so long for such simple things, or for such things of high priority, to take long to be fixed? Why does it have to take this long? Over to you, Hasahya.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. First of all, the first question you spoke about, that why has it taken long for government to fix some of these things? We have to know that government does not work in isolation. Government works with ministries, government works with departments, government works with agencies, government works with authorities like KCCA, which is also comprised of different, it has technical team and political heads. What I know, referring you to that tweet you are saying about Hussein, saying that there are some roads which are good in Kampala, but why have they specifically concentrated on the ones with potholes? I agree with him to some extent, because there are some roads in Kampala which are good. And even this one was also included in the KCCA statement. And some of these roads, if I can read for you, include. So the roads which do not have potholes, this is by KCCA KCCA, which include, we have Upper Kololo, we have Acha Road, we have Luzige Road, Tinda 1, Tinda 2, Matuga, Naguru Close, Kabalega Road, National Water Roads, Kauka Road, Bukasa Road, Mufunya, Chitunzi Road, etc. and etc. So this one is basically it is also good to have balanced reporting. It is good to have this exhibition of saying that we have potholes, and I strongly support people who are coming out to talk about it. It is good because we all need a smart city. I strongly support it. But it's also good after some, like we also have that campaign of maybe also showing our country the good roads we have in Kampala. We can also show them such that it is not totally that all roads in Kampala have what? Potholes. And not only in Kampala, even across in different places, we have some good road network. So it is not true that government has not prioritized the infrastructure development, which is the road network. Yes, challenges are there. We accept the challenges. We accept where the potholes, and we really condemn, and we really pray that they work upon it and such that it can be addressed. But it is not true that everywhere in the country there are potholes. So that is also what I wanted to do, to put forward. Then the question you asked me concerning the limited financing. First of all, we have to know that it is Parliament. Parliament is the one which approves budgets. They are the ones who, because I know KCCA has presented a budget, so it is the work of Parliament, committees, to find out or to allocate certain resources. And in the Parliament, we have all kinds of people. We have government people who are in government, let me say, who are on NRM tickets. We have in opposition. So I don't know, I've not yet known whether Parliament have approved the budget, because we have seen that KCCA was saying that they need 75 to the one we have for the country. We have to know that even as a country, we have challenges when it comes to the money for the national cake. So that is not it is the responsibility of government to take care of its citizens, but you have to know that there are times challenges are there and they are limited with the finances. They are limited with financing. So that is a great challenge. So to me, I believe these Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Works, and different committees, they can work together, and we have the Minister of Gender, the Minister for Kampala. They can work closely to find a solution for the potholes in Kampala. Even though there are limited resources, we have, even in the capital city report, there's that money they were saying that getting from external funding. So I believe this one can be of great help if they can have collective efforts to see how they can address the situation in Kampala, how they can see how they can maintain the roads, how they can develop our roads in Kampala. So it is collective efforts. Even in Kampala, it itself also collects taxes. So if this taxes, or if this local revenue can be repatriated, since we have a lot of businesses in Kampala, Kampala can be taken, it can be taken as a priority, such that they work on the road network, because sometimes things can be worked in in a short run to help things in the long run. So if they can prioritize the road network in Kampala, in the long run, it will create more revenue, because you know that there are not going to be delays. People who are transporting their goods, it's going to be very fast. So in the long run, it will create more benefits for the city. So to me, I believe all they need is to have collective efforts such that they address this situation. I'm happy that the Speaker of Parliament, Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, summoned the Minister for Kampala. I believe they're going to find a solution for these potholes in Kampala. And this one will help us to have a smart city as they're aiming at.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Muganga to introduce himself and give us his take on the Kampala pothole exhibition.
I am Muganga Douglas Katosi. I am a pharmacy technician by Kampala. I work in Kampala. I love my country, Uganda, and I am a responsible citizen who wishes to see a better country, and that's why I, for one, found it important to participate in the Kampala potholes photo exhibition that is still going on online. I felt that it's part of my civic duty as a responsible citizen, that if there is something that is wrong, and we happen to have citizens that have organized themselves to raise a voice, to rally those that are in offices of authority to do better, then it's my, I'm duty bound to participate in that. And also participating in this discussion, I believe that it's part of the process to add on the voices for better performance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And 2 years before you go, why do you think it has to take this long for things in Uganda, in the capital city, to be fixed and to even have, let alone to have a response? Why do things have to take this long? Why should it take citizens to agitate for basic things like, good roads, for that to be a response, and let alone action?
Musiime, thank you for that question. Now, the situation we are facing in Kampala is only a microcosm of a bigger problem. Kampala, you realize that now we are discussing about potholes on roads, but that is not the only problem within Kampala, at least for me as a resident in Kampala. If I can just tap a little bit about the responsibilities of Kampala City Council Authority, and of course government. Government's role is, the primary role of the state is to protect people and their property, and to provide leadership, provide public services, to fulfill the social contract that people have with the state. And if you evaluate the performance of government, the current ruling government, the NRM led by President Museveni, they have failed on many fronts. So today we are talking about potholes on roads, but that is just one sector that is wrong within Kampala. You find challenges with street lighting. Go as near as the Constitutional Square in the city center and check the street lighting there. The cleanliness of the Constitutional Square. Because I usually pass there many times, perhaps after work, and I move around. The place is filthy, it is smelly, you know, and we are talking about one of the most important spaces in the country for us, the Constitutional Square, you know. So we are experiencing a breakdown of services. You know, when you talk about garbage collection, look at where you stay. How effective is garbage collection? You know, so largely, and when this campaign started, and then KCCA gave feedback, they raised the issue that they are underfunded. It is true. So we see that the Lord Mayor and the political leadership at large are speaking the same voice with the technical people led by the executive director. And they are saying that, look, dear citizens, despite raising our voices hoarse, demanding the bare minimum, you know, they don't give us money. They don't give us money to do. So you have Kampala, where the government collects over 50% of revenue, you know, for all over Uganda, 50% of the revenue that runs the Uganda government budget comes from Kampala here. But they spend the money on other things. Just last month, we saw the police launching a fleet of tear gas trucks, police trucks, you know, procurements that are worth billions, investing in tools of violence against citizens, you know. So we have rulers that have lopsided priorities, and that's why they don't give enough money, but they divert that money to buy weapons, to buy tools of repression. So the problem is bigger. We are looking at a governance problem, you know, a governance problem, because we've not resolved that problem as Ugandans. It is affecting every other section, you know. The other time you saw medical interns who have not yet been deployed by the Ministry of Health, because the Ministry of Health perhaps is short of funds, you know. So you have at the root of this bad governance, the failure for us Ugandans to resolve the question of governance, and you have one man and the family and cronies well determined to do everything within their power at whatever cost to keep themselves in power, because we've not resolved that question. So all the money is diverted towards that purpose, and the crumbs are left for the rest of the citizens. So if you look at the monies that KCCA receives, you know, not even talking about just road construction, but the whole of KCCA, they don't even make 100 billion shillings, you know, 100 billion shillings, you know, and yet you have the budget that goes towards State House to manage the president, his family, and his workers, you know, the money that goes into 1 trillion shillings. And they have, because they're in power, they even go for supplementary budget, you know. But when the poor KCCA guys even go to demand for supplementary, they don't give them. So the center of the problem is a governance failure. And as we make discussions about these potholes, we must attach the bigger governance question. That's what I can say, Musiime.
Thank you very much. But as you're saying, it's a part of a bigger problem, and it's a governance issue. And you seem to put the blame so much on the ruling, you know, regime. Someone would argue that Kampala is predominantly led by members of another party that is the opposition. I don't know of any NRM member of parliament. I know of only one NRM division mayor. I don't know of NRM having any majority in any of the division councils, and let alone at the KCCA, at the council of Kampala City. In fact, I don't think NRM has a position, any seat in Kampala City Council. The Lord Mayor is a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, not NRM. Is it still appropriate to continue just putting the blame on the ruling regime and not sharing the blame within, the different political groups? Because Uganda has a decentralized system of governance in a sense that districts, cities, municipalities have their own kind of autonomy. So is it still appropriate to just put blame on NRM for problems of Kampala?
Musiime, thank you for that question. I thank you for asking it, because the other citizens that watch this program have a chance to know what is exactly happening. Largely, the current KCCA Act that was passed during the reign of Minister Frank Tumwebaze, in the spirit of the NRM and Museveni as the chairman and now president, they transferred authority to effective management of Kampala from the political leadership, and they transferred it to the presidency. Kampala is largely managed by the central government now. The president appoints the executive director, the direct appointment by the president. You would have thought that if Kampala City leadership was in charge of managing the city, perhaps KCCA would have put out adverts, and competent officers would have applied for that position, But we have the executive director that is a direct appointment from the president. So Kampala, by and large, is managed by the central government. The political leadership is largely tasked with roles of oversight, ensuring accountability, giving policy guidance, making bylaws and things of that sort. And to a large extent, they have worked. They are working. They are doing a lot. The current KCCA Act that was introduced by the NRM regime by President Museveni was also in bad spirit. And why we say bad spirit? We quote President Museveni on the functions that he hosted in Kampala, and he was boasting about how he managed to pass through a law in Kampala where the Lord Mayor, even though the people of Kampala voted him, that is Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, but he's largely powerless. In other words, he boasted that it is Byoya Byanswa, that I took away all the power. And these statements are recorded. So the spirit with which they passed the law was to really minimize the political leadership and make it powerless on the real things that matter, such as finances and job appointments. So that is so. When you say about representation of NRM among the political leadership, there are some few members of the NRM. For instance, the mayor of Kampala Central is Mayor Uhuru. He's a member of the NRM. But even him, I was listening to him on 88.8 CBS FM last night. He's speaking the same voice. He's complaining. He tells how he reveals these things to his chairman about the problems that the underfunding, and he doesn't get a positive response. So this further tells you that there is a bad spirit that is coming from the rulers that are in charge of the affairs of the nation. You know, it's a lack of statesmanship, because it calls for statesmanship for one to have the maturity to say that, okay, yes, the people of Kampala did not favor me for leadership, you know, but I understand that. Let me provide services to them. Let me provide the funding that is required for proper management of the city. But here we have a president who goes on national functions and he says, those areas that did not vote for me will not benefit from government services as much as those that voted for the NRM and me. You know, we have the president that says that, we have his ministers that say that, you know. So we are not surprised that they behave the way they behave when they have influence even over the budget committee in parliament, because the budget committee in parliament, the main influence is by the NRM, and the influence of the Minister of Finance, led by the NRM officials there, are the ones that eventually determine what comes up in the budget. You know, the other week we saw the leader of opposition, Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, present the alternative budget to the country. You know, and they clearly stated that had they been in power, they would have allocated more funding to KCCA. Being in charge of the capital city of the country, you know, so we have a problem of a bad spirit from the rulers, of this country, that deliberately refuse to allocate adequate funding for functions to proceed well. But I must say that even now, when as citizens we are up in arms trying to massage these rulers, to influence their moral consciousness, to be merciful and give us a bit of the money that they collect from us in taxes, so that we can have good roads, and that in case we manage to convince them to allocate more money, then we shall also have to be vigilant to see that the money they have allocated is not stolen by the people they appointed in offices, in KCCA and all that, you know. So it's eventually you see that it goes back to a governance issue, which citizens have to be bold and brave enough to attend to, if we are to decisively deal with these problems.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, and I must say I largely agree with you. We've been joined by we've also been joined by Chrispo. Chrispo will introduce himself and give us his take on the Kampala pothole exhibition. But before Chrispo comes, I'm sure, Sovereign, you have some, issues, some number of things to respond to, and I'll give you, that opportunity. Before you come, Sovereign, you want to also highlight something. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics indeed has stated that, and this is 2020, I'm sure there is more recent data, that Kampala, the capital city of Uganda, alone contributed in the year 2020, 30% of the country's GDP. That means it's the largest contributor. Now, if you add Kampala, Wakiso, and Mukono, those alone contribute about 60% of the country's GDP. That's how important this conversation is, and that is how important Kampala is, and should be fixed because it is our cash cow. So over to you, Sovereign.
Hello, Musiime, before Sovereign comes in, I just wanted to supplement on that point you just mentioned, because it's a very important point.
Mhm.
You know, when you give those statistics about Kampala and Wakiso and the big percentage they contribute to domestic revenue and GDP and all that. And when you talk about Wakiso, so you have Kampala city, and when you talk about Wakiso, if you talk of Wakiso, Mukono, the planners will involve it as Kampala Metropolitan. So we are talking about inadequate funding for Kampala city. But if you go to Wakiso district, it is even worse. If you go to Mukono district, it is even worse. So we have a bigger problem. The local governments are very poorly underfunded. But the solution to this will have to go beyond increment of funding. It has to go to improvement of governance on a larger level, improvement of community mobilization, you know, because if depending on the standards we are setting for us to have as a people, because we are talking about roads, but have we discussed the larger transport infrastructure? The roads in Kampala are overworked with heavy trucks and very heavy traffic because we do not have the larger transport infrastructure attended to. You know, in other cities, people have trains, people have trams, you know, transportation is a bigger thing than just vehicles and overloading the roads. No wonder the roads that even are worked on have a very short lifespan, you know. So it is a discussion that has to be bigger, and the solutions have to be many, not just incrementing funding. The other time I saw the gentleman, Mr. Godbert Mushabe, was on TV, and he proposed that perhaps we need to mobilize the Kampala citizens, the Kampala residents, to even start doing community fundraising, to contribute, you know, out of voluntary will, to contribute money to support public city public works like road maintenance, rubbish collection and all that. You know, it may require that. It may require that perhaps we even introduce a culture of Balungi 1C, you know, where like if we see that the authority is overwhelmed, it is short of funds, we dedicate a Saturday and we say there is some work we are going to use our energy with to clean up and all sorts of things. So the solutions are going to come from different places, depending on the standards that we want to attain as a community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to you, Sovereign.
Well, thank you so much. Responding to some of the issues which were raised concerning the appointing authority, because he spoke about the director of KCCA being appointed by the president. And I spoke also about ministers, and president appoints many people. Actually, it's not only in Kampala, or it's not only around Central, but president appoints different people. He appoints directors in different ministries, in different departments. So president appointing, we have ministers for Karamoja, we have ministers for Northern Uganda, and in different places. So appointing a minister in Kampala or appointing a director in Kampala does not limit in any way the works, or does not limit any way how politicians are supposed to work for their people. Because when you're elected, you're sent there to represent the issues of your people, issues which are affecting the people. And KCCA, in their political wing, they have a council whereby they sit and they pass budgets, which is for their city. We have councillors, we have Lord Mayor, and they are always there passing budgets. And it is not true that all roads in Kampala are done by the central government. The central government does not work on all the roads in Kampala. Not only in Kampala, but even in other places in Uganda, there are roads which are specifically for central government, but then there are roads which are for the local government. So it is not true that all roads in Kampala are done by the central government. There are those roads which are supposed to be done by KCCA as an entity, not by the central government. So for how far they have gone on how they can work on the road network using their KCCA as an entity, that one I can't tell, because we have seen in different places whereby they are given money from the central government and the money is sent back to the treasury. It does not perform the work which has been, sent there to do. So the challenges of Uganda and Kampala are not only for one person, which is the president, or they are not for one person who is the, or who are people in government, or not for the whole NRM government. It requires collective efforts to be responsible, like knowing that as KCCA, yes, we know that there are challenges in underfunding, but underfunding is not only in KCCA. We have to know that our country right now, it is not doing well financially, and different ministries, different departments, different agencies are suffering the same thing of underfunding. And this is because we know that our revenue is collected, but it might not be enough. Sometimes, of course, we get debts from outside, but you find that there are many things, many priorities, and now they keep on dividing. So sometimes they allocate money, which is not enough, but that is what we have. So if you are a man at home and your wife wants to eat matoke, but the money you have, or in the treasury, in your pocket, what you have, it is for sweet potatoes. That is what you have to give for the start, but hoping for future results, which can be able to hope, which can be able to help. Then concerning the lifespan of roads. Lifespan of roads, this one, we have to know that KCCA has technical side also, which employs engineers, it contracts contractors. So the quality of the road, it depends on which contractor you contracted. It also depends on which engineer has worked on that particular road. So sometimes you find that some are given money, but then they keep some of the money and they use poor quality products to build a certain road. That is why you find out that some roads are repaired, but then after some time, again, you find they're worn out. So that is the challenge of a certain engineer who was contacted or a certain contractor who did not do the work well. So the cleaning, it is not only, it is for us all, you know. Even the engineers themselves who are working on the roads should be patriotic that yes, they have contacted me to do this, but what am I doing? You know, let me do this thing well, such that like they should have that they should have that sense of belonging, knowing that I'm doing this for my city. Then concerning the act, KCCA Act, the acts are not done by the president of Uganda. All the laws in Uganda are done by parliament. There is no any law or there is no any act in Uganda which can be there when it is not what? When it has not been approved by parliament. And parliament has different people. It has opposition. We have opposition MPs in parliament. It has different people from different political parties. So saying that acts, the act which was maybe established is not, it does not benefit Kampala. That one, it is the work of the parliament. It is the parliament which passed the act. So that one, in case they want to make amendments or they want to make any other issues concerning to the act, then they should consult or they should forward their complaints to the parliament, because we know that it is the work of the parliament which makes acts. It's not individual people, but it is the parliament which comprises of different people from different political parties who do what? Who do acts. I think those are some of the responses.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, I'll provide you an opportunity later to respond, Ganga, and perhaps also to do some fact checks on what Sovereign has said, you know. But before that, Sovereign, many of the contractors that work on Ugandan roads are actually not Ugandan. So I don't think you can expect patriotism from them. That's they need money. But even then, I think the job of supervision is entirely on both the technical team and the indeed political leadership. But the technical team is supposed to do the technical supervision for sure, you know, and we can't keep on shifting the blame. Let me go to Chrispo. Chrispo, please introduce yourself and also tell us what you think of the Kampala pothole exhibition campaign.
Apologies for coming in late. I was a bit caught up in jam, but my take is on the changing government priorities. I feel like maybe the government is not so interested in the metropolitan region. Yesterday, but I happened to be interacting with Dr. Spare Sentongo, who was at the lead of these exhibitions. He was telling me of how we need to hold the government accountable, and how best can we hold them accountable is to run such campaigns on Twitter. Now, it is these same campaigns that were done that attracted even the attention of the parliament and also the attention of the president. So it means that perhaps maybe if these campaigns were not done, maybe nothing was going to be done, but we appreciate the exhibitions that were being done. The exhibition, they really reflect of what is happening in our cities, that is in Kampala and Wakiso. Of late, I was in Hoima. That was a week before Easter. Honestly, Hoima has very good roads. So I feel like maybe the government is investing in other cities where it feels it can benefit. Maybe it's like, now what do I benefit in Kampala, for example, or maybe in Wakiso? There is nothing left to benefit other than maybe investing maybe in areas like Hoima, because I went to those rural areas of Hoima, for example, in Kabale, around the airport, around those deep down villages. Those guys have very good roads. To the extent, even those good roads, they don't even use them themselves. So I feel like government is changing priorities. to go to those areas where they can benefit. So I feel maybe Wakiso and Kampala are not those areas where they can benefit. On the issues of underfunding, how long are we going to be crying of underfunding? Every government agency cries of underfunding, but I feel like the narrative should change. How best can we use the available to cause about a positive impact? Because now, if you go to the Ministry of Health, they're going to cry, we also want funding. Go to the Ministry of Education, they're going to cry that we need funding. If you go to any ministry, those guys are all crying underfunding. But how best do we make use of these available little resources? One of the presenters talked about approval. I think one thing that we need to correct, it is the president that approves. The parliament just passes and the president approves. I think that is it. But the state of roads, honestly, in Wakiso and Kampala, it is really so wanting. If for those who are using taxis, oh my God. Now for those ones on borders, you need to go for with there are some areas where you move and you need an extra cloth to put on after that long trips. So I feel like the government is so reluctant, and this is the time maybe we could call upon UNRWA and maybe those who are managing the Uganda Road Fund, at least to do the best to ensure that there is something that is done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. You mentioned that government is losing. It does not consider Kampala priority because they are not benefiting from it. Fair point, and if that is what is in the mind of government officials, they are looking at it only in terms of votes. They are not looking at it in terms of a big picture of how much Kampala contributes to the economy, which again sustains them in power. Because I mean, if a big percentage of taxes, or over 30%, come from Kampala, you cannot ignore it. It is the one sustaining government in power. But also, I am yet to know of a government ministry whose headquarters are not in Kampala. I'm yet to know of a government, of an arm of government. I think all the three arms of government are headquartered in Kampala. I'm yet to know of a major development partner, a major embassy that is not located in Kampala. So Kampala is an administrative zone, but it's also a business capital. Unlike many countries that have a distinction between the administrative capital and also the commercial capital. So Kampala is integral to not only Uganda's economy, but Uganda's governance, Uganda's, political structure, but also importantly, Uganda's cultural heritage. The seat of the Anglican Church is in Kampala, Luwaga Division. The seat of the Catholic Church is in Kampala. Seats of the different sects of the Islam faith are in Kampala. Cultural heritage centers, Suvi, Tombs, that is of Uganda, is in Kampala. Uganda Museum is in Kampala. Kampala is honestly the heartbeat of Uganda, and if Kampala bleeds, much like the rest of the country will honestly bleed. If Kampala catches cold or sneezes, if Kampala sneezes, the rest of the country will catch a cold. I want to bring to you, to come back to you, Mganga. You respond 1, 2, 3 things before we can call this a show.
Thank you, Musiime. I wanted to respond to my sister, Hasahya. She's called Hasahya. She said that in regard to the KCCA Act, the law is passed by Parliament. That is true, but still it goes back to the fact that it is the ruling government that is responsible for that law, because in parliament, the majority takes the day. Whenever everything is being passed, when you see the speaker saying the ayes have it and all that, he knows that the majority are the NRM. Even if you have no's that make more noise, you will say the ayes have it, you know. So it is the majority that makes the final say on these laws. And all the laws that we have here, largely, it's the work of the NRM, whose chairman is one General Yoweri Museveni, who also happens to be the president. And when the bills are passed in parliament, the president, who is the chairman of NRM, is the final person to sign them into law. So the KCCA Act is largely the responsibility of the NRM government. You shouldn't throw away. And we are saying that the spirit with which it was passed was to take away power from, it was nearly to take away people power, because when the citizens vote leaders into offices, these leaders are supposed to represent the power of these people that voted them. But when you make it like those that have been voted into offices are scrapped of power to directly influence affairs of the city, then you've taken away the power of the people. But we are used to how the Museveni NRM regime has behaved during their tenure of government in Uganda. At the moment when they won't be the ones in charge, will be evaluating the performance of other people. But now that they're the ones in charge, these are the results that they are giving us. Then she talked about allocation of funds within budgets and all that. And she said that we are doing badly, we don't have money. It is true that there's been a reduction of money that is available for government to use. But the question is, even that little that is available for use, how do you use it? How effectively and how appropriately do you use it? Okay, if you have that little, what you claim is little money for use, and then we see that you are using a big chunk of it to buy military weapons, weapons of civil repression, such as tear gas trucks, tear gas powder, and all that, you know, that is how you've chosen to use the little money that you have. You, the rulers, the rulers led by Museveni, who is the chairman of NRM, and the ruling party now, which is NRM. This is how you've chosen to use the little money that is available to us. When we see that you are spending billions of shillings to facilitate birthday parties all over the country by the son of the president, you know, under the backing, of course, of the president, because when you see that the son of the president is flying all over the country in military helicopters, he must have been sanctioned, like given permission by the commander-in-chief, you know. And you know how much money is spent on maintaining those helicopters, you know, military vehicles moving around. If you have little money available to you, make the best use of it. Don't spend it on parties, you know. Don't spend it on buying tear gas, you know. Don't spend it on deploying in Makerere University to dictate on student affairs, on how they elect, you know. Do you know how much money is spent on deploying 100 soldiers, 100 police officers in Makerere University? These are young people trying to express themselves, you know, to elect their leaders, and suffocating them with military weapons, trying to threaten them. And you are using public funds, fuel for those military trucks, allowances you give to the officers, the tear gas you waste on those days for nothing serious, you know. So it is misallocation of funds, lopsided priorities that ends us in this situation, that they will give very little money towards Kampala, but they will allocate towards the budget of the armed forces and the military, and not even to fight foreign enemies as per se, but to repress citizens in their activities. So largely we go back that we have a failed governance problem that is at the center of these problems, that connects dots to all these problems. And as citizens, we have to organize ourselves and resolve that issue. Otherwise, we shall continue coming back here even after 5 years, complaining. Now we are talking about bad roads. Next time it will be broken sewage pipes, because we've not attended to the gist of the matter, which is bad governance. And that is basically how I see it. But what we are trying to do with the photo exhibition is commendable. It is raising the voice, it is raising awareness. The whole international community is seeing these things. Tourists are seeing these things, and maybe people will become ashamed and they say, let us give these people money, and we shall have solved part of the problem. But still, we need to attend to the bigger problem so that we build a much better country. It's shameful that is in this 21st century, when mere companies are building spaceships to go to Mars. SpaceX this week is, launch testing a spaceship, to go to Earth orbit and later take people to Mars. We are talking about working on roads here in Kampala. Ancient civilization in the Roman Empire built roads, and we're talking about building roads. Even before the colonials came here, when we had our judges managing the affairs of Kampala and all over our communities here, they used to manage roads. But look at us here in this 21st century, talking about potholes. It is shameful.
Thank you very much.
The least that the NRM government leaders should be coming is to come and apologize to us, and then pledge to do what we are asking them to do. Otherwise, to swallow, to say the least.
Thank you very much for that contribution. I will ask if anyone has a parting shot to give it in 1 minute, and then we close the show.
Just I have one small thing to bring about. One is I think we need to use the social media. I think social media is a very powerful tool for advocacy and lobby. So I think for future interventions and how we can attract these lawmakers, policymakers, key stakeholders to respond to those pressing issues in our community, social media would be a very good tool to use to push for this. Thank you.
Okay, do you have something to say, Sovereign?
Well, thank you so much for having us. My take as what we could do is to address the challenges which are there, to address the concerns which have been risen. And also it is good also using also social media, as my brother has said, to lobby, to advocate. It's also good to use social media to market our country. It would also have a hashtag which is showing Ugandan roads also, which are good, like for example, Kisoro Road, Tirinyi Road. There are many roads even around here, Kampala, Kololo, which are good. So sometimes it's also good to use social media, yes, to alarm or to raise issues which are affecting people, but it's also good to use social media to market our country, because social media cuts across not only here in Uganda, but even across on international community. When they see that we also have good roads, or we also, not only roads, but even maybe wildlife and different things. So let's be balanced in the way we see things. We should not only look at one side, but let's try to be balanced. Yes, we condemn where things are not right, and we call upon action to be taken such that things are right. but where things are good, it's also good to promote that good such that it can continue being good. Because sometimes when you don't speak about the good and you leave it, some people might not, they might think it is taken for granted. So let's promote either sides. Let's promote our country. Let's promote Kampala city also in a good way. I've seen around, we have some good roads in Kampala, as I read to you by the statement of KCCA, some good hotels in Kampala. So let's also try to promote that side. Let's have balanced views and balanced, issues concerning our country. Thank you so much for having us, and all the panelists. Thank you so much for all your views. It has been a good discussion.
Thank you very much. And Tony, your parting shots. Tony, we are at the conclusion of this discussion, and if you wish, you could give us your parting shots, your closing remarks. Okay, we are sorry for the network issues that have hindered Tony from participating effectively, but it has been a great show, and thank you to our panelists for.
Excuse me, Musiime, I wanted to make one final shot before we close. Kindly.
Please go ahead.
No, I wanted to, in conclusion, say that first of all, I wish to thank colleagues that have been part of this discussion. Every person makes their contribution, and it's important that our goal is improvement of our society and our community at large. But I must not let my sister, Sovereign, we must not condone mediocrity. She talks about that despite this campaign that we are holding, exposing these failures, that there are some good roads here and there. She must look at the statistics in whole. For Kampala to have 2,100 kilometers, and you don't even have half of that is well tarmacked. That is bad performance. If you get below 50%, you failed the exam, you're not promoted. So we must not condone mediocrity. We must set high standards. We must set high standards. And if we are to achieve high standards, we must all join the voice together and demand that we deliver on much better. So my parting shot is that this problem we are talking about to do with road potholes is just a symptom of a bigger failed governance problem. If she talks about these good roads and good hotels, look at what is happening in Sudan, Khartoum. The rivaling armed forces are bombing the roads, even the few roads that were constructed, because of a failed governance. So if we do not solve the governance question within Uganda, we are just sweeping that under the bed. Yet in reality, all is not well. So I rally citizens to be bold enough, speak truth to power, and do everything that we can to make sure that we resolve the governance question, so that we have revenue allocated to the most important sectors of our society, so that we go into a first world nation that we deserve to be. We are brilliant people, we are hardworking people, but it is shameful that we have to be involved in such low-ranking issues, yet we should be talking about much more serious issues. Thank you so much.
Very much for that. Tony, all of you for being discussion. I thank our audience for patiently listening and being a part of this show. We believe that this show will inform many stakeholders, will inform the different powers that be. This Kampala photo exhibition has been an amazing opportunity for us to understand how we can engage, but it has also been an opportunity for us to see the state of our roads. Many people may not know what is happening in Rubaga if they are living in Machindye. A person who lives in Akawa may not necessarily understand what is going on in Kawempe, unless maybe they go there every day, which is not usually the case. But with social media, with activism online, we've been able to see the dire situation of these roads. We don't have to spend a lot on vehicles, breakdown of vehicles because of bad roads. We don't have to keep on losing people who cannot make it to hospital in time because of bad roads. We do not have to keep on seeing the health of people deteriorate because of dusty roads. And we don't have to continue having such bad drainage system and suffering from diseases that are caused due to bad drainage, among them cholera and other, highly and dangerous diseases. We don't have to go through that. We don't have to see a disorganized city. One minister sarcastically remarks that potholes are part of the tourist attraction in Kampala. That was an admission by a government official of the failure to fix what has gone wrong in Kampala, in Uganda. And that was also an insensitive comment to the people of Kampala, to the people of Uganda who pay taxes to this government, who have given, although questionably, a mandate to government to make lives better and to make standards better. Goal 11 of the SDGs is about cities, it's about sustainable cities and communities. And this is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. How sustainable is Kampala as a city with such terrible roads, with such bad drainage system, with no proper planning and proper infrastructure? On this show, we've talked about a number of things, including the bad state of roads, state of vehicles, state of infrastructure planning, infrastructural planning, electricity, name it. I think it's high time that the government of Uganda, that KCCA, woke up and defined what we want Kampala to be 10, 50 years from now. We want it to be a smart city, a better city, a sustainable city for each and every person. Those who live there, those who work in Kampala, and also those who visit Kampala. It should be a model city that everyone prides in. I thank you for being a part of this show. I thank the Center for Student Governance and Civic Space TV for convening this. We wish you a great week.